Welcome, you guys. This will be our gentle restorative for this week. And I have been doing a chakra series, really more or less for my yin classes, but in a few of these episodes, I've been bringing them up in this class. And I wanted to again this week, because this week is a very important one. Honestly, my favorites are 2, 4, and 6. And we're talking about the sixth chakra this week. It's called Agna. And it governs the prefrontal lobe of the brain, our eyesight. I'm not going to talk a lot about it today, other than to say this is the center that they refer to as our sixth sense. So with our sixth sense, it's the ability to be intuitive. It's the ability to have mental clarity, the ability to tap into our inner wisdom, and sometimes not even know where that's stemming from. And I want you to be in the question today of whether or not you listen to that, whether or not you notice that. And when you do notice and when you do hear it, do you trust it? Because I will be honest, we all have this gift. We all have this ability. But in my younger years, this is when I was a flight attendant before I got into yoga, I was so bad intuitively because I was really ungrounded. If you think about it, basically living in the skies. I was living at 30,000 feet above the earth the majority of the time. And literally every time I would drive in and out of the airport, where you have to park and then you have to go into the lines where you have to pay for parking or show your parking pass or whatever. And then, of course, in the airport, you have the lines going through security, or you have the lines. There's always lines at the airports, or lines to get something to eat, right? Inevitably, I swear you guys, I would always get into the longest line. Now, visually, it could have been the shortest line, but when I would take it, it would be the longest line for me to actually get through. And this really bothered me because I knew about intuition. You don't have to be a yogi to know about intuition. But when I started becoming a yogi, and when I started reading more up on this practice, and when I started meditating and discovering how meditation could improve this quality, I was really, a little bit discouraged with myself because of my past, but I really was determined to put it into motion and to put it into play. So it took yoga to get me grounded into my body, and it took yoga to heighten my sense of awareness. It took yoga to allow me to be able to pay attention to those messages. And then slowly but surely, now I've been doing this for 20 some years, but slowly but surely, it has gotten better and better and better and better and better. And literally within the last, 5 to 7 years, I have really hit a good stride with my intuition. Some of the things that I put into practice besides yoga and meditation and breath work is I discovered this person online. And if you like angel messages, she is a beautiful spirit. Her name is Elizabeth Harper. She's British, but I think she lives here in America. And I've been following her for years. And what she does once a week, she'll put up a video and she pulls cards, angel cards. And the first thing she does is something very yogic. She makes you put your hands over your heart, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and then she'll ask you to call in your angels to say, should my message this week be 1, 2, or 3? Now, when I first started utilizing her services, I would get flustered and I would get, honestly, a little stressed, trying to quiet my mind and trying to figure out, okay, 1, 2, or 3. Because I'm a person that tends to lean to 3 if I have a choice, no matter what. And it took me time, and it took a little patience, and it took me weeks, maybe a few months on end of practicing before I finally started getting the message. Now, it would either show me like a little image of the number, or I would hear the number audibly, or not, internally, or I would hear it and see it at the same time. Now, what's really cool about this, when I finally started getting the message and I knew I had that clarity, then it would switch off, it'd be 1 or 2 or 3. It wasn't always number 3. And it always pertained to what I was going through. Like, it seriously synchronized with my life. So that was one of the exercises that I did. And another exercise I did, I put it into play as a mom and through my communication with my son, because parents are highly intuitive with their children. And then the other thing that's really helped me is administering Reiki and being able to really plug in on that person's energy and pick it up. So anyway, I'm encouraging you today to find a way to find little exercises to practice your intuition. And then we're going to do poses today that help to stimulate the third eye. And we're going to start off active and we'll end passively. And we're going to use the wall space. So have 2 blocks, a bolster ready. So we're going to start in child's pose. If you want to go ahead and make this restorative, certainly you can use a bolster, but I'm actually wanting to receive that little tilt that the regular one gives us, and you're welcome to join me here. So if you wanted to place your palms open at your feet and lower the head down, notice the head will be angled slightly lower than the heart. Balasana is a great pose for this particular chakra. Once you lower down over your lap, take some few deep breaths. This is a great pose to also become more grounded in case you've been busy or doing some work beforehand. And then I want you to gently rock and roll your body, or just simply roll across your brow. And then eventually return to the center of the brow. And then on your next in-breath, extend your arms out in front of you. For extended variation of child's pose, really stretch out through your arms, keeping your hands shoulder distance apart. And we're going to walk the hands over to one side of the mat, preferably the right. And then gently lower the head down. Now I'm asking you to walk your hands to the right so that we can emphasize the stretch on the left side body. In yoga, they talk about the Ida, an energetic channel that travels from the base of the spine up to the third eye, and it travels on this left side of the body. So breathe more fully into your left lung. And it's okay if the face is hovering above the floor. On your next inhale, lift the head up. Walk your hands on across to the left side. Accentuate that stretch here in the right side body. Once you lower down, take a few deep yogic breaths. And I'm reminding you that on the right side is another energetic channel called the Pingala. And it is said to travel from the mind's eye, that third eye point, all the way back down towards the base of the spine. They say that one is usually more dominant than the other. So these practices are helping to magnetize the Sushumna channel, or what's called the central channel, for harmony and balance. On your next inhale, walk your hands back to center. And you're going to come to a tabletop position. Now, if your knees went wider, then close that gap so they're right up underneath your knees, hands right up underneath your shoulders. Now, push the floor away from you with your hands so that your arms get locked into place. You're going to feel your upper back get stronger. And as you press down through your shins, ankles, and feet, you're going to feel your belly get more snug and more firm. Now, from your tabletop position, see if you can step one foot back and then the other, performing plank. Your thighs are plucking up towards the sky, your core is still engaged, your arms are still strong, and your neck is in line with your spine, and you're looking slightly down. On your next out breath, push back away from your hands, stretch through the underside of the arms, pull your sits bones up in the air, and gaze back towards your feet. Downward facing dog is another amazing pose for this third eye center. Feel that angle from your hips down to your brow. And that's where we're sending the energy now. Let's come back to the knees. Untuck the toes and drop to your forearms. And notice how the belly wants to drape. Pull the belly in. And notice when you pull the belly and the low base of the ribs in, your upper back gets more filled in. In other words, there's no gap between the shoulder blades. And your triceps really fire up the backside of your arms. Now let's inhale, move to cow. So you are sinking the belly, lifting the hips and the head up. And then as you exhale, round it out like a cat stretch. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. We're going to do one more. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. And then stand back onto your hands long enough to find a block, because you're going to want to sit on it. And that block is going to go in between your ankles. Now, go ahead and bring your hands to prayer position at your heart. As you inhale, you're going to lift to standing Vajrasana, and you're going to bring the palms together and look up towards your hands, diamond pose. And as you exhale, bring your thumbs to your third eye. And then as you exhale, continue to drop back into your block, hands lower down to the heart. We're going to do that twice more. Inhale, coming up to standing Vajrasana. Exhaling into diamond. Inhaling, thumbs to third eye. And exhale, sitting down and pulling the hands back to the heart. All right, one more. Inhale. Reach the arms up overhead, standing Vajrasana. Exhale, palms together, look up towards the heavens, being grateful for this beautiful gift of intuition. Bring the thumbs to the brow and sit back down and hands to heart center. All right, we are going to come up to stand and we're going to use the wall. So we're going to back our seat to the wall, and the feet are not going to be all the way to the wall, because if you try to fold forward, you'll probably fall. So your feet are going to come out more ahead, a few inches away, so that when you exhale, your sits bones are at the wall and you're not going to, and your hands can prop on top of the blocks. You may need fingertips if your hamstrings are tighter, and that's okay. Right now, we're just going to be here just to warm up the back side of the legs. But then we're going to continue to bend the arms and fold. And then what I want you to try to do is see if you can stack your blocks in such a way, and it'll be different for everyone, where you can rest on your brow. And let your arms be loose and limp. And as you continue to hold, if you feel your body beginning to give you more flexibility, you can always adjust the blocks and go lower. And vice versa, if it becomes too much, you can stack the blocks to be taller. So this is a more restorative way to do Uttanasana. But as you can see and sense, there's a lot of activity occurring. So we won't stay here as long as a restorative pose. In fact, since this is the 6th center, let's hold it 6 more breaths. You're ready to exit out. You're going to prop your hands onto the block, separate them out, shoulder distance again. And you're going to walk your feet a little bit more towards the blocks in front of you, bending your knees fairly deep, and then separate your blocks to the sides, and then come up where you're in like a chair pose, but your back is to the wall and your sits bones are resting on the wall, knees obviously bent. Now we're going to bring the hands to prayer position at the heart. And what you're going to try to do here is really press down through the feet. Your shoulder blades are probably resting here on the surface, but we're going to lift the arms up and we're going to slightly angle forward away from the wall. So notice we're building a lot of strength in the legs, even though we're being supported. Let's take 6 more breaths. If your arms get tired, you can bring the hands down. That's a lot, isn't it? Okay. Push your hands against the wall and come away. We're going to do the wall push, which is like a modified way to do down dog. You guys have done this with me before. You're going to stand back a pretty good distance. And basically you're trying to make this shape with your body, kind of degree angle. So when you're ready, hands shoulder distance apart, press back away from the wall. Let your ears line up with your upper arm bones. Suction the abdomen in and up. Take deep breaths. Slowly walk the feet towards the wall. And then we're going to turn our back to the wall, come down to tabletop position. And from tabletop position, we're going to return to downward facing dog and lift one leg up to the wall. So you'll just have to yourself accordingly. Once you take Adho Mukha Svanasana, let's bend the left knee, take the left foot up the wall, tuck the toes, and make sure you have enough room to power back away from your hands, that you have enough room to square the hips and to practice this inverted pose. When you're ready, step the left foot down, bring the right foot up, curl the toes under, roll the right hip down, square the shoulders, bow your head and breathe. Exhale, let's return the right foot to the floor as well as our knees. And we're going to come down to the belly. Now, I know you can't see my legs, but you guys know what you're doing. You're going to stretch your leg bones back towards the wall behind you, and you're going to stack onto your Sphinx arms. I often see this with elbows. And if that's the case, you want to tuck them in. All right, so the arms are parallel. Press through the elbows. Fire up your triceps. Open the heart center. Lift the top of your head. Squeeze in the buttocks. And maybe retract the belly away from the floor and towards your spine. All right, we're going to do one more active pose before we switch off and get more relaxed. All right, from performing Sphinx, we're going to glue the hands together. And when you do that, squeeze your palm shut, curl your toes. I'm going to lower my head so you can see. I'm going to press into my arms and feet to lift into forearm plank. This is an easier version of forearm plank. And if you're struggling with this, please know that what encourages me every time I do this is I remember seeing an 80-year-old woman doing this in high heels, holding it for a solid minute. And I just thought, if she can do it, I can do it. All right, walk your feet a baby step or two forward, and then push back away from your wrists. Let your head hang between the arms. This is dolphin. Another great pose for the third eye. Your head's hovering above the floor. And then on your next out breath, descend your knees. All right. We did a lot of strength to start with. So now, let's get relaxed. Let's separate the knees wide. Bring the bolster in. And then we're going to do the restorative child. So what I offered you at the beginning. So feel free, if it doesn't feel good to rest on your third eye or forehead, you can turn and rest on one cheek. And then we're going to be using certain affirmations today. So affirm mentally. I trust my inner wisdom, and I allow my intuition to guide me and to light the way. I trust my inner wisdom, and I allow my intuition to guide me and to light the way. If you've been resting on one cheek, flip to the other cheek and take a few deep breaths to settle back in. Next in-breath, gently begin to feel our way away from the bolster. And we're going to slide it out in front of us. We're going to close the knees once we lift back up into tabletop. So when you're in tabletop, we're going to move the hands forward alongside the bolster. And you may have to play with where you're placing the bolster, but I want it to land at your brow, and then your elbows can sink and let your belly sink. We're not going to hold this for a long time. Restorative way to do melting hearts. And inhale, slowly come back up. And when you come up, you're going to land your right hip beside the bolster. And you're going to lift up through the chest, and you're going to wind your way around. And you can do a couple things. One way would be to stack the forearms here. Another way is to spread the arms out and lower to one cheek. affirming again. I trust my inner wisdom and I allow my intuition to guide me and to light the way. And then inhale, slowly begin to come up. And you can do one of two things. You can turn your body around, so the left hip, or you can just move the bolster to the other side and switch the positioning of the legs. But once it's attached more to the left hip, lift up, spin around to face it, lower down upon it, and then relax and breathe. I trust my inner wisdom and allow my intuition to guide and to light my way. Let's go ahead and press into the floor with the hands. Come away from that prop. And I want to end legs up the wall. So if you prefer legs up the slide, you can set yours up using the props. Just to give you a visual, right? If you prefer this one, you can go there. Or if you want to scoot to the corner of your mat, and then roll onto the mat, lifting the legs up the wall, you can be here. Take your time settling in. So any type of inversion is going to be great for this energy center, this 6th chakra. Even this one, even though we're not fully inverted. We know that this is good for circulation, good for draining lymphatic tissues of the lower body, aiding the heart, but more importantly, calming the mind. And so we're trying to use this pose to create a calm sense of balance in the mental realm. So that we're more apt to notice, to listen, and to lean into that intuitive guidance. Now the element for this center is light. And the color is indigo blue. So feel free to use your imagination to picture this color of blue light at your brow or shining throughout your body. If you want to continue to stimulate this point, send your inner drishti towards the midpoint of your brow.
trust my intuition, and I'll allow it to guide and to light my way. Let's take the feet wider and bring them down the wall just to help to open the hips. Your low back stays flat to the floor. Your knees swap open, your feet slightly turn out. Now let's roll over and away to one side of the body. I'm going to find my bolster to sit on. You can do the same. We're going to rub the hands together. Remembering there's reflex points here. Get your hands warm. Ignite this energy. And then you're going to cup your hands and place them over the eyes. So it helps us with foresight, insight, clairvoyance, seeing near and far, seeing the big picture, gaining new perspectives. And then bring your non-dominant hand down to your lap. And with your dominant hand, tap the third eye. Affirming for the last time, I trust my inner wisdom, and I allow my intuition to guide and to light my way. And then rest both hands on your lap. The sacred sound is Om. We'll chant it once together. Deep breath in. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaste.